Always have a buyer for the prospect's trade. Remember the first 10 words. I'm going to try to illustrate and dramatize a true experience that happened using those two principles right there. At Jim Reed Chevrolet, Nashville, Tennessee, I was standing on the showroom floor, and like a lot of guys, you know, sometimes I'm talking, I should be watching the floor. Sales manager said to me, he said, "Hey, Jackie, you want to catch that guy coming in the door?" And I seen this young man come walking in the door, had him on one of them caterpillar ball caps, I call it. He was down in that hat. I mean, he was deep in it. He was down on his eyebrows, pulled down. It was down behind his ears. He was down in it so far. I mean, he looked like he would, you know, he'd grown up in that hat. And I turned and seen him, you know, and I walked over to him and I said, "Welcome to Jim Reed Chevrolet." And when I stuck my hand out, he didn't put his hand up. So with discipline, I didn't move. I just stood there for a few minutes. And finally, his hand did come up, and he handed it to me. You ever had one do that? I mean, he just stuck it out, just limp as a rag. So I reached and grabbed it, started working on the end of it. I said, "My name's Jackie Cooper, and tell me who you are." He said, "Phil." I said, "Phil?" "Yeah." This guy was a real motivator. I said, "Well, Phil, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be of service." I said, "Let me give you," and I gave him a handful of those business cards. So and the first time he smiled, I handed him that double handful of business cards. Must have been 30 of them. And when I handed them to him, he gave me this. And I finally seen just a little flash of a smile there. And he said, "Hell, I don't need all these." I said, "Well, you have some friends, don't you? Did you know I've never asked a prospect that question, him say no?" He said, "Yes." "Yes." I said, "Well, take some and give them to your friends. Put them in your right pocket." He said, "My right pocket?" I said, "Yes, your right pocket." I mean, damn if he didn't stick them right in his right pocket. I said, "Phil, watch now." I said, "What are you driving now?" When I said, "What are you driving now?" look at the screen. What's one of the points that we brought up? I don't ask, "Do you have a trade?" Ladies and gentlemen, what have a lot of consumers been told about how to buy a car and get, quote, a good deal? Buy straight sale, go in and shop straight sale first, get your straight sale price, and then do what? Then spring the trade. Is that right? So I said, "What are you driving now?" When I said, "What are you driving now?" ladies and gentlemen, he dropped his head. He looked like he went into a state of mourning. He dropped his head right in front of me, and all I could see is the top of that ball cap. He looked down at the floor. "Vega." I said, "A Vega?" "Yeah." I said, "What year model?" "74. He wouldn't look up. He kept looking at the damn floor. I thought, what the hell's wrong with this guy? I said, "Is it automatic or 4-speed?" "Automatic." I said, in the States, I said, "How many miles on it?" He said, 97,000. Started rubbing his head. I said, "I got a buyer for that car." He said, "You got a buyer for a Vega?" Hell, looked like he was born again. Just boom, he just come unglued. I said, "I sure do." I said, "I got a buyer. I think the guy's still here." He said, "Let me show you mine." And hell, out the door he went. I had to run to catch him. We got out there in the parking lot. So it looked like a Kadafi Vega. Holes blown the side of it. It's the only Vega I ever got in my life. You could get in and still stand on the ground. And I'm going around the car. He said, "You got somebody who wants to buy the Vega?" I said, "I got a buyer for it." In fact, this guy, I've sold him a lot of cars over the years, and he's kept most of them. I think he's still here. You want to tell me who my buyer is? Lowball, the used car manager. Lowball to buy anything he can steal. Is that right? I didn't say Lowball was the buyer. What did I say? He's a buyer. Is he not a buyer? Now watch, please. If it sounds deceptive, please don't misunderstand me. Let me share with you the truth. Let me go with it. Let me go through the story. Listen to it. As I'm walking around the car with him, looking at the car, he said, "You know, I've taken this car to 4 dealerships this morning trying to trade it." He said, "One guy told me I'd do better if I kept it myself." He said, "Another fellow told me I'd do much better if I sold it myself." One guy recommended I put it in the paper. And one guy told me I'd get more for it if I sawed it up in pieces and sold it. I said, no, Phil, you don't understand. I got a buyer for the car. When I went to close that deal, ladies and gentlemen, listen to the seriousness of this story. You'll never forget it. When I got down to close, here's what he said to me. He said, Mr. Cooper, my mother gave me that car before she died. Would you agree you better not make light of a man's car? I mean, show interest in that car and him. I don't care what he's driving. Now, here's another reason. If you've got a buyer for his car, why does he want to talk to you? He wants to get rid of it. He wants to talk to you. Now, what does that imply when you tell him you got a buyer for it? What does that imply as far as what he can get for it? Does it mean that you want his car? Does it mean you got a desire for it? What are you doing to his feelings? Please study it. I don't care what your program or what your background's been. Become a student, not a follower. Just study what's going on. You don't have to do it this way, but study it for a moment. I'll assure you that Mr. Jim Reed would tell you today that's one of the highest grosses he says ever made on a celebrity. One reason. Tell me, why did that guy buy that car from me? And I'm very serious. Why do you think he bought it from me? Did I show interest in him and what he owned? I didn't criticize his car. What did the other four guys do that most likely cost him a deal? They criticized his car, wanted him to keep it, kick it out. There's exceptions, but I'm trying to use a true story. Something you can use. Now, this technique right here, with your management's approval, if you're watching on video, let me say again, don't use anything without your manager's approval. These are some ideas, some concepts you can consider. Always have a buyer for the prospect's car. Now, you can see a change in that consumer. If your dealership says, no, we don't want you to do that, then eliminate it. Remember, it's a smorgasbord concept, and I'm sharing with you some of the best techniques and ideas I know.